these issues. Even in the first unit, when I was discussing the basic concept of OB, I had discussed what exactly are the changes that are coming about in organizational behavior because of COVID, and post COVID. What are the behavioral aspects which are, gaining importance, and how companies are now managing this new workplace scenario, work from home, and all these things. So how are they shaping OB? So I have already discussed. Now there's no point me discussing again the same things. This is an interesting report of McKinsey, which discusses what are the changes that have taken place now in the past 1 year, and how companies are gearing up to those changes, and what are the imperatives for companies, and what they need to do, and what are they doing actually. So it's a discussion that we intend to have, but we want you to participate in the discussion, right? So if not today, it's okay. It doesn't matter. We can have it on some other day, but you have to read the article. And I told you yesterday in the previous class that these discussions, you please consider them as serious discussions for class assessment. So you have to read. Maybe we'll put up a day, and maybe Tuesday or whatever, we'll fix a day and then we'll discuss. So today, what do we do? I'll take up a small but very interesting subject for discussion today. And mainly, primarily, this is, discussed as part of the personality discussions. Usually, we discuss it when we discuss personality. So personality, I've already discussed with you when I discussed locus of control and Machiavellian and all those things, type A, type B personality. So this is usually discussed with that. So very quickly, we'll take up what do we mean by emotions and moods, and how emotions and moods affect organizational behavior. So because see, we are human beings, we have a personality, and that personality affects our behavior, and we have emotions and we have moods, and these emotions and moods, they affect our everyday behavior and our everyday performance. So emotions are important at the workplace. Moods, what mood you are into, that impacts your daily behavior, and that impacts your daily performance. So moods are important. So these are, new research areas which have come up in organizational behavior. Personality is an old construct. It has been researched since the 1960s and 70s. A lot of psychology researchers have gone into personality and uncovering the dimensions of personality and how they impact OB. But emotions, moods are relatively newer concepts. They are part of personality. They are, in a way, extensions of the concept of personality, but they're relatively new. So I'll discuss very quickly because I want to have a quick discussion on this. So we'll discuss what exactly we mean by emotions and moods and how they affect workplace. So are they important? Are emotions important? And are moods important? So emotions and moods, you can see the slide, right, Zareen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can see the text
Yes, ma'am.
pages, right? So emotions and moods are critical factors in employee behavior. They explode the myth of rationality. Human beings, there's a theory, a traditional theory that human beings are rational beings. They come to workplace with a certain rational mindset, and you give them the task and they will work and go back. So it is, scientific management theories and all those theories that you must have discussed earlier. They were primarily based on the concept of rationality. People are coming, and then you give them a task and they will do that task based on their specialization, and they go back and they get a pay for that. It's not that. It's not that I come to workplace every day with my skills and just do my work and go back. I'm a human being. I have a personality. I may have some emotions. I may have mood swings. Today I may be happy. Maybe tomorrow when I come for work, there may be something, preoccupying my mind. So some days we are happy. Some days we might not be that happy. Some days we might be in a different mood. So the concept of emotions and moods, it explodes this myth of rationality. Human beings are not just rational beings. They are human beings. And because they are human beings, they will have emotions and moods, and all those things will impact how they work. So they mutually reinforce each other. They mutually influence each other. And these aspects, they impact our everyday work. Extreme emotions and extreme moods, they may be disruptive to the organization. So if there's any extreme emotion, that may hamper your working and the working of the organization. Traditional OB thought focused only on negative emotions and moods. For example, anger. Anger is wrong, and anger should not be there, when people are working. So we have to minimize anger. But now recent researchers have started focusing even on positive emotions and positive moods. And they say it's good to have positive emotions and moods, but sometimes even extremity of these emotions and moods can hamper the working. So extremes of any two can hamper the working. Let's see what exactly we mean by this. So differentiating between emotions and moods, affect is a broad range of feelings. Affect has two components, emotions and moods. Emotions are intense feelings towards someone. They are more open and expressed. Moods are feelings which are less intense than emotions, and there is no specific cause of mood. It could be because of, daily, your moods may change because of a lot of things, and it's not always very open. It's not always very expressive. It's not always covered. It may be hidden. So emotions are more felt, and they are more, overt. They are expressed. Many a times researchers say moods are subcomponent of emotions, because you may have several moods in a day. You may be happy in the morning, suddenly you are tired and you start feeling unhappy in the afternoon or whatever. So moods are several small components of bigger, domains of emotion. This is an emotion continuum which researchers have identified, and they say that these are the 6 most common types of emotions that they have experienced at the workplace. Based on workplace researches, these are 6 most common emotions identified: happiness, surprise, fear, sadness, anger, disgust. Happiness at one extreme, disgust at the other extreme. These are 2 extremes. Disgust is a negative emotion. You feel disgusted. Not just anger, but disgust. That is even more extreme form of anger, where you are just, disgruntled with what is happening. You don't like working. You don't like coming to the workplace. Happiness is the positive emotion, the other extreme. We want people to be happy. But we just now saw that any 2 extremes, too much of these 2 extremes is also not good. Too much of disgust will hamper the working of the organization negatively. Too much of happiness, what will it do? Is it wrong to be too happy?
It will deviate you from your goal.
Yes. Happiness is good. One has to be happy for, for our general well-being and for health and for longevity. We need to be happy beings. Happiness is good, and happiness has emerged as a recent research construct. A lot of management researchers are now focusing on happiness at the workplace and why employees need to be happy, and happiness quotient. You must have read about it. And happiness, happy countries. We have indices of happiness. Countries being ranked on gross national happiness and all that. So happiness has emerged as the latest, fashion in management thinking and business thinking and all of these things. But anyway, happiness is an important construct. We want people to be happy. But as you said, who said this?
Ma'am Usman.
Usman. So as you said, too much of happiness, okay, in a way, it's okay, it's fine, good. But, expressing too much of happiness may sometimes become detrimental, because it may, as you said, it may distract, it may deviate. So too much of laughter, for example, if you start laughing in a class, maybe that's not very good, because that may distract the other students, or that may distract the teacher. So happiness is good, but expressing too much of happiness might not be very good for the organization, because that may distract and deviate, and that may take up a lot of time, So these are all natural emotions. Happiness will be there, disgust will be there sometimes, surprise may be there, fear may be there, sadness may also be there, anger. These are all natural emotions. They will be there, and there are other emotions also. But researchers have identified these 6 as the most common emotions that exist at the workplace and which impact working, and they will be there. You have to accept that people will be happy, people will be sad, people will be surprised or angered, whatever. But you have to, in a way, watch for these emotions. Too much of any emotion may not be good. So, but emotions will be there, they will exist. Now, felt versus displayed emotion. Felt emotion is what you feel. Displayed emotion is what you display. Many a times we hide our emotions. We don't display. So displayed emotion is what you get to know. You may feel a person is happy, but inside he may not be. Now, as OB managers, you have to have that. I've discussed perception, I've discussed personality. You have to develop that understanding, that subtlety, that knack of reading people's minds. To be a successful manager, you have to understand people, you have to listen to people, you have to read people, you have to listen to the unsaid, the silence, that also you have to listen. So you have to understand people's emotions. Apparently it may appear people are working, but actually they may not be working. They may just be at their workstations. They may not be happy employees. There may be some dissatisfaction brewing somewhere. You have to understand that there is a dissatisfaction brewing somewhere. You have to detect those smokes which are gradually coming. If you don't have smoke detectors, if you don't have that understanding of detecting smokes, then you will not be able to understand that there's a big fire coming up. And that fire will blow and burn out your organization. So you have to understand that there are problems which are happening. People are not happy. They are sad. There is some disgruntlement happening somewhere. There is some disgust inside. So you have to understand the felt emotions also, not just the displayed emotions. Emotional dissonance. I've discussed dissonance in the previous class. It is inconsistency between emotions. We may feel something, we display something else. Somebody may not be happy, but when he comes to work, he shows he's fine, he's happy. But yes, the fact is he's not happy. So sometimes it's not possible that every time you will be able to understand emotions, but sometimes you have to understand. You have to think, what is the problem? Because emotional dissonance is harmful. It impacts the organization negatively. So we have to understand these emotional dissonances. Nowadays, a lot of organizations are hiring psychologists who are there at the workplace as coaches, mentors, guides. And they are there reading people, understanding people, talking to them, trying to get to know what is the problem and trying to take steps to address that problem to some extent. You can't address all problems. Maybe somebody has a problem in his family or somewhere. Now the organization cannot address all those problems, but the organization can provide some kind of support. Some kind of support can be provided for work-life balance, for example, and so on. And a lot of organizations do that. But you can't do it all the time. You can't do it all the time. You can't do it for all the people. But yes, by and large, you have to take care of emotional needs of people. Emotional labor is a situation in which an employee expresses organizationally desired emotions. We try to express emotions depending on what we think the organization wants. So that is just, behaving as per what organization wants and just trying to display the emotions that we think will be valued. So it's okay. This will happen naturally. But anyway, if there is too much of emotional dissonance, that may not be actually good for the organization. What are the aspects of emotions? I mean, where do emotions come from? What happens? How do they impact us? So there's a lot of biology, a lot of genetics, hereditary characteristics that go into emotions, the brain, the thinking. A lot of these things will impact your moods and emotions. We have seen a lot of people are most of the time that we feel they are happy. A lot of people, most of the time, we feel they are not appearing to be happy. So it could be a lot to do with their personality, how a personality has shaped up, what experiences they have had in the past. A lot of those things may shape up your way of looking, your approach, and so on. It will depend on personality also. It will depend on the context also. You may be happy in the canteen with your friends, but you may be sad in an OB class. So the context also impacts our moods. It happens. Job requirement, what kind of work you are doing, with whom you are working, who is your team member, what kind of project you are working, that may impact your moods and emotions. Some days you may be happy because you're working with team members who you like, or you're working on a project that you like. Some days you're not happy because you don't like the project you're working on. So those things will impact. Then some emotions may be more frequently exhibited. Some people get angry very quickly, so they will display anger frequently. Some emotions are fleeting emotions. They just happen for a moment, momentary, impulsive, and they may not last long. It's okay. Some emotions may be more lasting. They may continue. They are problematic. For example, if somebody continues to be angry most of the time, that could be a problem, not just for that person, but for others also. So you need to understand if it's a fleeting emotion, if it's just an impulse, maybe fine sometimes. If it is lingering on, maybe we need to address that. So emotions will have several dimensions, several aspects. What are the functions of emotion? They affect your communication, they affect your work, they affect your performance. And so some thought has to go into managing emotions. We'll see in the last slide how organizations take care of emotions. Now, sources of emotions, a lot of things impact emotions, as we said. Your personality may impact your mood and emotions. The day and time of the week also impacts moods. Will it? Will the day and time of the week impact mood? Any understanding of this?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, when the Monday comes in,
Monday, what happens?
ma'am,
Monday
we
morning
don't want.
blues. Huh? And Friday, what happens?
Yes, ma'am. On Friday, we are like, we will go home
But
and take a
you have
holiday.
a class on Saturday also. Why should you be happy on Friday?
No, ma'am, for the organization such as
Organizations. Yeah, so it is found through established researches. We have found that people are more gloomy Monday mornings and all that. Friday they are happy because they have a now they will get a weekend and so on. So time of the week is important. In fact, it is said Thursday ke baad people are happy because they know it's the last Friday. So the day the time of the day. What about time?
Ma'am, in morning they are more enthusiastic, and at the
Okay.
time of
Okay, right. So the moods, the morning time may be different, the afternoons, maybe lunchtime more relaxed or whatever. Evening again happy going back. So okay. So timing and days of the week, all these also impact our moods. Will weather impact mood?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Weather has a serious impact on moods and emotions. Not maybe for people working in an AC chamber, but imagine the workforce who's working in factories and not so conducive workplaces, or workforce working outside. Of course, weather impacts them. In fact, there are regulatory guidelines from ILO, etc., also regarding heat, regarding workplace temperature, all of these things, especially for people who are working in factories and furnaces and those kinds of places where temperatures are slightly hot, or the workplace is not that conducive or comfortable. So the weather impacts stress, of course, your mental stress, or your, if there is something already stressing you up, somebody stressing a person, a family issue or some whatever, a personal issue, that will of course impact moods and emotions. Your social activities also, will they impact moods and emotions? What about social activities? Nadia Khan? Quickly, Sumaya, speak up. And no attendance if you're not speaking up.
Ma'am, like if there are some fun activities, they will affect the mood. It will help to increase the happy mood.
What do we mean social activities? What social activities are we referring to?
Ma'am, maybe some activities that happen in the organization, like on Diwali or
Okay. I'll come. There's much more. There's much more to social activity. Leave it. I'll come to this in the next slide. So, what do we mean by social activity? Sleep. How important is sleep?
And if we have proper sleep, then we will work efficiently.
Sobia, how important is sleep? How many hours do you sleep at night? What time generally you sleep? Most somebody can answer that. Anybody can answer. What time do students sleep typically on an average?
between 12
2
and
to 8.
1.
I'm 12 to 2.
3 to 4. Imran,
Ma'am, between 12 and 1, I'm saying.
12 and 1. Average,
Between 12.
on an average, university students, MBA students, for example, you must be knowing your friends. What time do they sleep?
Ma'am, 1 or 2.
1 or
Ma'am,
2?
yes, ma'am, around
2
that.
to 5.
Adnan, 5.
2 to 5.
And what time do give me a more specific range. 2 to 5 is 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock. What is an average?
Maybe it's 2 o'clock.
3.
According to me.
2 o'clock, ma'am.
And what time they wake up? Arbaz, what
Just
time they
before,
wake up?
just before the class, ma'am.
Ma'am, around 8 a.m.
8 or 8:30.
Okay. All of you attend the first
10.
period?
Ma'am, most of us attend the first.
Most of you. Good. That's good. Because when we used to have classes in the department, we thought that very few students would come for the first period normally. And then there would be a lot of things that we had to do to make them come, sessionals and all, so that they at least come. Anyway, so how many hours you're sleeping then on an average?
6 to 7.
An average youngster, how many hours is an average youngster sleeping? There's a lot of research now going into sleep and how sleep is impacting workplace behaviors, because people are not sleeping thanks to WhatsApp, thanks to a lot of other things. People are not sleeping. And because they are not sleeping 7 hours, which is important, it is impacting their mood, it is impacting their health, it is impacting for students, it is impacting their studies, for employees, it is impacting their workplace behavior. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration because people have not slept properly. And all that lack of sleep is affecting their workplace behavior, workplace relationships, workplace activity, and it's impacting organizations in a very serious way. I will share some very interesting articles on sleep. So sleep has a serious impact on mood, and sleep is now emerging as a very important concern for organizations, why people are not sleeping. So anyway, so sleep is hampered. We are not sleeping the way we are supposed to sleep, sleeping early, getting up early. Most of us are not sleeping proper. And that is impacting our health and behavior, everything. Exercise, important? Exercise
Yes,
could be anything. You're walking, you're doing some work at home. It's important. It impacts your health and it impacts your mood. I don't know how many of us exercise on a regular basis, but okay, anyway, we must. Age, will it impact? Will age impact mood?
Yes, ma'am.
What impact it will have? Okay, all right. Generations, we know about cultural generations, so the baby boomers and then Y and X and whatever, millennials, and each generation has different approach to life, different, perspectives, different emotions, different moods, different ways of understanding things. So of course, moods depend on age also. Gender,
Yes, ma'am.
it has any impact on moods and emotions? It has. Okay, so let me come to this. Women, this is all research. I'm not saying it. Women experience emotions more intensely. They display emotions also more frequently. They are more comfortable in expressing emotions and are better at reading others' emotions. Men believe that displaying emotion is inconsistent with the male image. So they are innately less able to read and identify with others' emotions also. Maybe emotion is not a very important construct in a lot of cases. In case of males, they have less need to seek social approval by showing positive emotions. But the interesting thing is that these findings are relatively old, what I'm sharing with you. Some new researchers have come up recently on very large data sets, which have shown just the opposite also. In a lot of cases, men are also very, very emotional and they want to express their emotions and so on. So many a times you will have researchers which will contradict. But what I'm discussing is by far the major researchers which are there. So this is what most OB researchers have found as far as women at the workplace is concerned and men at the workplace is concerned. So this is the difference found in emotions. This I just now discussed the time of the day. And can you see this? Can you see this? Negative moods are highest on Sundays and morning of Mondays, for example, and then they fall throughout the week. Okay, positive affect, it is increasing and that's how it is going. Friday, positive moods are highest at the end of the week. If you look at this, positive moods peak during the middle part of the day. So morning we are low, mid part of the day we are okay because now it's break time, lunch time, and again it starts to dip. So these are the differences we already discussed that, time of the day and time of the week. Then gender, and then now this. So what is all this worth? What do we do now? So there is something called as emotional intelligence. Managers need to have emotional intelligence, EQ, emotional quotient. Now, researchers say that emotional quotient or emotional intelligence is more important than IQ, intelligence quotient. What is the difference between IQ and EQ? Intelligence
IQ is quantitative and EQ is qualitative.
Yes, ma'am.
IQ is
IQ tells-
what is IQ?
It is about the intelligence of a person, and emotional coefficient.
No, but what is intelligence? Can we measure IQ?
Aptitude.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, IQ is something who tells us how our brain works, and EI is something that how can we manage the things around us.
But emotions also come from brain. Brain guides your emotions. What's the
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it depends upon how we take the things in a mathematical way or in the raw form.
okay.
Without-
Adnan, you were saying something?
IQ checks your aptitude to problem solving.
Okay. So
Emotional
IQ, as we say, is intelligence. Okay, intelligence tests your, as you said, aptitude to. Somebody used the word mathematical. Somebody said, Muhammad Usman. IQ is more, IQ is more mathematical. When I say mathematical, I don't literally mean maths, but I mean more calculative things. For example, the MBA entrance test that you give, is it based on EQ or IQ?
IQ.
IQ.
It's based more on your aptitude, IQ. You have word solutions and vocabulary testing and reasoning and intelligence testing, as we call it, and numeric ability and mathematical ability. All that is part of IQ. We are testing IQ because it is easy to test IQ. It is easy to frame questions on IQ and have a MCQ type of question and assess and then do a evaluation and create a merit list and select students. It's easy. That is why all entrance tests and competitive exams have IQ-based models. We can't have EQ because at that level, it's not important to test EQ. But when you go for interviews in companies, for example, campus placements and all, then they may ask you a lot of EQ-based questions. And nowadays, companies are moving towards a lot of emotional-based questions from aptitude-based, intelligence-based to emotion-based questions. So they are trying to look at your emotional understanding. Self-awareness. What do you know about yourself? Do you know yourself? And I've discussed this when I discussed perception, your strengths, your weaknesses. They will ask you all these questions in your interview. And you have to be fair. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. That I discussed about the Johari window, the public self and the private self and the dark area and all that. So all those things you have to be conscious about. You have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, your personality traits, all those things. Then self-management is also part of this emotional intelligence. You should be able to manage your impulses. It's not that one is angry and you start showing your anger everywhere, throwing out and so on. You have to manage your impulse. Too much of anger, too much of happiness, expressing it at the workplace might not be very good for you. So you have to manage those impulsive moments. You have to self-manage your emotions. If you can manage your emotions, you will be able to manage a lot of things. So it's good to be happy. It's good to be excited about something, but too much of excitement or expressing too much of happiness may sometimes, as we said, may deviate and kind of may not project you sometimes in very good light if it's a serious discussion going on and you start laughing and so on, isn't it? So you have to self-manage. You have to manage your impulses. Then self-motivation is also part of emotional intelligence. Motivate yourself and be there, persist, be self-driven. Nobody is going to motivate you to work. You have to be self-motivated. And empathy is also part of emotional intelligence. You have to understand others. If somebody is sad, understand that. You can't laugh if your friend is sad. You have to understand that. So empathy is important for managers. Managers have to have emotional intelligence. Social skills. Handle emotions of others also, social skills you have to have, how you should talk, in what language you have to talk, what words you have to use at the workplace, what words you have to use with juniors, with seniors, with the other gender. All these things are important, social skills. So all this is part of emotional intelligence. Now, organizations, as I said, at the time of interview, they ask you a lot of questions to understand your emotional intelligence. Even in the written test that they may have for you for selection, they may have a few subjective questions on emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is now becoming a very important subject of discussion and concern for organizational behavior. So we want managers to have self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. It's different from numeric ability. It's different from vocabulary. It's different from intelligence. It's different from a typical reasoning test. You have to have these emotions to understand others, empathy and social skills and all that. So all that is part of emotional intelligence. The ability to understand emotions, the ability to manage and control extreme emotions, and the ability to understand others' emotions and feel what is happening, and then take appropriate steps and appropriate actions. So emotional intelligence is important in organizational behavior. Some more small, simple issues for discussion when we talk about emotions. So some more, there are a lot of issues, but humor. These are some more, issues related to emotions that are getting importance now. Is humor important? We want to wind up this class in 5 minutes. Is humor important?
Yes, ma'am. It keeps positive mood.
Yes, ma'am.
Is humor important at the workplace, Imran?
Ma'am, sometimes maybe it is that to lighten the tension when someone is stressing over something. It might be.
Okay. Now again, recently I've read a lot of articles in HBR and many other, good publications about humor at the workplace and the importance it is gaining. And it is said that humor is important. Humor is impacting workplaces positively. Humor is important. Humor at the workplace, humor in management. Sometimes a little banter here and there, a little frolicking here and there. Just small healthy jokes, they are okay. But again, extremities of anything might not be good. So because humor is a very, very difficult thing to manage and to have that ability to be humorous. Not everybody can be humorous. Some people can be very bad with humor. So what to say if you're saying something humorous, what to say, when to say, how much to say.
Some sense of humor is important, no?
Sorry?
Some sense of humor is important.
Sense of humor is important. Sense of humor is good. But that's what I'm saying. But then, sense of humor in terms of, again, because humor is a very delicate subject. It's a very sensitive issue. You can't just be everywhere, spreading humor, laughter, whatever. So you have to have that sensitivity to know how much of humor and when and where. But humor is good. And now, as I said, a lot of studies are saying that it's okay. Let's have a little humor at the workplace. Humor keeps people energized. It keeps people a little happy. So sometimes a little bit of humor is good. Sense of humor, as you said. Gossip. Important?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And all of these constructs that I'm discussing, they're all those issues. I am not discussing. There are so many issues that I could have discussed. I'm only discussing those issues which have recently acquired a lot of importance in literature. Gossip, Usman, is not important. Is gossip important, Kanishka?
So it depends from person to person. Some people like to gossip and it helps
Okay.
them
What is gossip? What is gossiping?
Ma'am, it can be
Ma'am,
saying about someone's personality, but it can also be like if someone is coming, then there is gossip. Like some important person is coming, that is also gossip.
Can we have others also coming in? Kareem,
ma'am, positive gossip can be good for the organization.
what is positive gossip?
Ma'am, like people commenting about the place that they like to work there, so more people might get attracted to the place and they would want to work there as well.
Okay. Okay. Hayat? If you're not answering, I would assume that you are not present.
Yes, ma'am.
Please say yes, no, whatever, I'm present. Hayat.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, gossip in the sense if it is about someone like their personality traits which is impacting negatively or demotivating people, that could be wrong.
Okay. Jasmine, gossip, is it important? Do you gossip? Do we gossip?
Ma'am, it can be considered in various ways. Like we can also sometimes good to gossip. Like it can lighten up the mood in the workplace and help you to discuss your things and problems of your personal life or maybe daily life. So it can can create a bond between people if they discuss their things and all.
Okay. Now, I'll discuss the next also, and then I'll discuss gossip with that. Friendship. Friendship is important.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, but only
Yes, ma'am.
office friendship, not personal will affect.
What is that? How do you
Ma'am,
differentiate?
sometimes friendship at workplace helps in reducing absenteeism.
Sorry, Nafis?
Ma'am, friendship at the workplace helps in reducing absenteeism.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation. How do you know this? Have you read something? This is
General
actually,
observation,
yes,
ma'am,
this is
general
actually research evidence that friendships at the workplace help reduce absenteeism. That's a very, very interesting. I don't know. You must have read somewhere. That's a very interesting observation. It's a research finding. Friends, are they important? Nazneen.
Yes, ma'am.
They're
Ma'am, they're
important.
important. Yes, ma'am. They help in reducing stress.
They help reduce stress. Yeah. So are friends important at the workplace?
Yes, ma'am. To discuss our daily activities, and if there's some problem, we can discuss with them.
And there are a lot of researchers which say that friendships at the workplace are distracting. They take away a lot of time. They disturb people's work. And there's a lot of time wastage because of friendships. Workplace is not for friendship. You agree?
Ma'am, it
Ma'am, it
depends on the
depends on the
people.
person.
Everything depends on the person then.
Ma'am, extremity is not good.
Now the camera.
Yes. It is felt by business organizations that in the last few years, they have felt that there's a lot of stress now at workplaces. Workload is too much. Working hours are rigorous. There's a lot of stress otherwise also in general, in our personal lives or social lives or in general, there's a lot of stress. If you compare workforce of today with workforce of 20 years back, you will find that today's workforce is generally more stressed because of a lot of issues, social issues, family issues, workplace issues, and so on. So there's a lot of stress. And stress was taking a toll on people. It was affecting people's job satisfaction. It was affecting people's workplace behavior and performance and everything. It was affecting people's health. So organizations have realized that friends are important at the workplace. You need to have friends. And now some organizations are consciously, they have a policy to encourage people to have friends. Right from the time when you join, when they are onboarding you, after recruiting you, after selecting you, right from that time, they try to see what kind of person you are, which department you will be working. And then they encourage you to get friends with like-minded people. They might even assign you a buddy, as you know, in a lot of IT companies, there is this concept of buddy, TCS and all these companies. They assign a buddy. A buddy is like a person who has a similar profile as you, would be in the same department or the same team, and whose job will be to acquaint you with the organization, the working of your organization, and so on, make you comfortable. So you can go to the canteen with your buddy on day one because you don't know, people as such. So they will ask somebody to, escort you, be with you. And gradually then you become friends with others also. So friendships are important. Even at the workplace, organizations are now giving a lot of importance to having friends because they know that if you have friends, you have somebody to talk to, You have somebody to share your experiences with, and in a lot of cases, dissatisfaction, disgruntlement is eased out simply by talking to a friend. Otherwise, it keeps growing inside you. So organizations are now encouraging people to have friends at the workplace. If somebody is a loner, if somebody doesn't have friends, they normally try to talk to that person and try to encourage him to talk to others, his team members, and become friends with others and so on. So friendships are important. Of course, it goes with everything. Too much of humor may not be good, too much of friendship may not also be good, and so on. So extremities, of course, may hamper, but friendships are important. Friends are important. They are, they provide you support. They provide you emotional support. They help you vent out your frustration. Just by talking to a friend, a lot of things get addressed. So they are important. And because friends are important, interestingly, little bit of gossip is also considered okay now. Light gossip, which just helps you lighten your mood and lighten your frustration. It is okay. So these are, these are new research areas, new topics of discussion in OB. If you look at old OB books, you will not find anything on humor and friendship. But if you look at the new editions, Robbins' new edition, latest, you will find discussions on friendships and humor and gossip and all these things. So these are gaining ground. Politics is an important. Workplace politics. Quickly, we have to wind up in 1 minute. Is workplace politics, internal politics important? It should be avoided. Generally, experience has shown in organizations that internal politics is not very good. It hampers the working. So it's a negative construct. Actually, it's a negative construct in most OB researchers. Internal politics, informal power, power play, power dynamics. There's a complete topic in the 5th unit on power politics and all that. So internal politics is not very good. But the fact is that there are certain things that exist. So politics exist. Internal politics is always there in all organizations. There are some people who informally become powerful. There are some people who form groups of their own. So groupism. Kanishka, are you saying something? So groupism, internal politics, all these things, they exist. Actually, these are certain things which will exist. You can't have a no politics organization. All organizations have some politics. But yes, it is slightly considered to be a negative construct. Too much of politics will definitely create a parallel system, and that will hamper the working of the organization. Selfishness. Naturally, selfishness is a negative construct, but selfishness exists. What about selfishness? Mirza?
Ma'am, may be important for personal growth.
It may be important for person. Is selfishness good?
Ma'am, a bit of selfishness is okay.
Is okay. Is selfishness good as students?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
Why? If your friend tells you that come and let's go and watch a movie and you have an exam tomorrow and you say, no, I want to study because my marks will be affected, and you start studying, you are being selfish. But is it wrong?
No, ma'am, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong because you are being selfish for an important reason, which is going to impact your marks, your career. So sometimes, now Fiza ma'am says selfishness is good, but sometimes, because of a certain reason, and if that reason is so valid that it's going to impact your life and your career and your family or whatever, your performance, then sometimes we have to be selfish in a way that it doesn't cause problem for anybody else, a major problem, but it's for our benefit. But it doesn't, in a way cause any damage to others. So if you're studying and not going to a movie, it's good because you're not causing any damage to anybody. You're not being negative in a destructive sense. But yes, you are being selfish because you feel that right now your priority is to prepare for tomorrow's exams. So selfishness is also a phenomenon which exists at the workplace. People are selfish. Some people can be too selfish, they can be too mean, and they can cause destruction to others. That kind of selfishness is not good. But selfishness where you are trying to do something positive and not causing any harm to anybody. to that extent, it may be okay. So selfishness also exists at the workplace and it impacts OB. And then finally, satisfaction, happiness, I've already discussed. Happiness is important. It's a very important construct. In fact, earlier, most studies used to focus on job satisfaction as the ultimate. Now, studies are focusing on happiness, which is beyond job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is just satisfaction with the job, whereas happiness is contentment, overall, satisfaction with life, with family, with work and everything. So happiness is a broader, and now it is considered to be the next level of satisfaction. So earlier studies used to focus on job satisfaction. Now studies are focusing on happiness as the ultimate goal for organizations. So it's important. So all these are important, behavioral traits, behavioral aspects, emotions, behaviors emerging out of emotions. They're all important. They all exist at the workplace. Gossips happen, friendships are there, humor would be there, selfishness would be there, politics would be there. Some maybe more negative, some not so negative. They all exist. We have to understand as managers that they exist, and we have to have that ability to know how much, where, when, in order to be able to have a positive workplace. So I think enough for today. Taken your 9 minutes extra. Let's stop. Zareen, are you here?
Ji ma'am, ji.
Okay. So would you like to say something, Zareen?
That's okay, ma'am. I think you have covered almost all the points.
Okay. So let us wind up then. Let's close for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Okay.